If you guys are not recording your workouts in some sort of book, logbook, notebook, you're making a big mistake, man. I've said many times that recording your training sessions, rep sets, how you felt on a given day is probably the best thing that you need to do if you take lifting seriously. I remember seeing a friend for the first time, get his little notebook out and write stuff down when I was like 20, 21. I was kind of doing the bro split. And I was like, what are you writing down? He's like, I'm just writing reps and sets down. I want to track how I go. And so next time I come around, I know, what I did on this exercise and what, my expectations are. And when I do better, I've got a record of it. Later down the track, I started paying attention, to powerlifting, to strength training. And I realized that it was all about programming, periodization, tracking. What's that saying? If you don't measure, if you don't record, you can't progress, or something along those lines. I'll butcher the hell out of that, but essentially you need to record your training. Writing stuff down is so valuable. Like I've shown you guys, a little A4 textbook that I've got, notebook, and I've already filled one out. So that book, that notebook lasted me from way before the Squat Everyday program, long way. Like it was something like 2000 and I want to say 15. I think 2015 I started recording my stuff. 7 years ago, yes, 7 years ago. When I got my squat rack at home, that's when I started recording. And so middle of this year, I reckon, that notebook finished. So I went from cover to cover, and so that notebook sits in my office. And so a lot of the times I get this out. I love reading it, man. I love reading. I love seeing the little experiments that I've done, how I felt, certain times. I learned a lot. I honestly learned a lot. And so if you're somebody that's like, oh, that's not necessary, it's all about pushing hard and whatever. I remember once believing all that stuff that, the old school bodybuilders used to say. No one really used to say the truth, back when I first started. Now there's a lot of information and people are telling you exactly what's up and what they're taking and what they're eating and how much they're sleeping and the rest of it. But back then it was like, oh no, if you work really hard, if you push through the pain barrier, that's where all the gains are. Training is a lot more than that, man. Training is a lot more involved. It's a lot more scientific. There's a lot more understanding behind the scenes than just working hard. Working hard is it's a constant. That's something that is not even up for discussion. If you're not working hard, you're obviously not gonna get anywhere. Working hard, a lot of duration of time needs to pass for you to gain anything. So just last night, this is what made me talk about this. Last night I was actually sitting there and I got the notebook out and I started flicking through and for some reason, every single time I opened the damn thing, it was kind of like, I noticed something different. This time around I noticed Romanian deadlifts. And I kept going through the whole thing looking for periods where I did RDLs and I was kind of looking for how I felt, how the squats felt. And I found a bit of a pattern that every single time I introduced this thing, it was good. It was a good session. I felt good. It was kind of good review, good little kind of period. For a very long time now, I've known, without a doubt, that hitting a posterior chain on a Squat Everyday program, on a squat focused program is so damn beneficial. So right now I'm doing deadlift every day. And that is kind of like a natural progression of that belief that doing a posterior chain is so damn important for the sake of your hips, for the sake of your knees. If you are doing a lot of pushing, which is what squats are, you're doing a lot of pushing, you must balance it out with a lot of pulling. Now, there's a lot of people saying a lot of different things about the ratios of how much attention you should give each. In my experience, I think doing a lot more pulling than pushing is what's served me well. And so this is why the deadlift every day came around. Just the other day, one of you fellas said, what happened to the hypers, the 45-degree hypers? I made a video saying the greatest exercise ever was the 45-degree hyper. And in that video, I explained why I believe that. And that belief is not, the 45-degree hyper is better than the squat or the deadlift. It's me saying that it's better in the sense of totality. A lot of people don't know how to squat properly day one. A lot of people don't know how to deadlift day one. But you need to be a damn monkey not to know how to do a 45-degree hyper. Everything else is locked in, man. It's just a hip hinge. You know, it's just a one joint movement. Everything else is locked in. You can't do anything else. Even if you flex your spine at the bottom portion, it's okay because there is no spinal loading. And so 45-degree hypers, man, like if I was ever a coach and I had somebody that's kind of first day in the gym, I would just say, see that machine over there, man? I need you to spend the majority of your time over there. It is a brutal machine. You will do all of the musculature that you really need, the big muscles, without the spinal loading, without the chance of you getting hurt. Now, you could probably get yourself hurt if you do the 45-degree hyper like a numbskull and you load up too much weight or whatever. That's a different ballgame. I'm talking about just body weight hyper. If you do, I don't know, 5 sets of 10 or 5 sets of 20, man, if you've never done 45-degree hypers and you do a set of 20, you're lit. So 45 degrees hypers is very close to my heart. You know, that period of time progressed into RDLs, progressed into snatch grip RDLs, snatch grip deadlifts, and eventually I worked out that deadlift every day needs to be somewhere in the picture. And so I've been messing around. Now I'm kind of messing around with the sumos, addressing that lateral hip girdle. I'm really weak. I don't have a lot of adductor length. So that's kind of where I am right now. But posterior chain is man, I went back even when I did the, I don't know if you guys remember when I did the homemade GHD, you know, that the GHD was like, wow, what a feeling, man. And, you know, it all started with me trying it in the gym, you know, with the GHR, I think it's GHD machine. And I was just basically doing back raises. I was just doing back raises on the GHD and I couldn't believe the activation of the hamstrings. I couldn't believe the activation of the everything, man. Basically, the whole of back of you was you know, really good. And then when you did that first and you head over to the squat rack and you started squatting, it was like, it's like, I don't know how to describe it. It's like insulation. There's like a degree of insulation about all of you. You're like protected. All of the muscles which are involved in controlling the trunk, the lumbar spine, the core, everything seems to be stacked. And then you put that bar on your back and you start going like, there's just confidence. All you got to think about is pushing up with the legs. So for a very long time, I've kind of talked about posterior chain, all these different exercises. I mentioned some already. Today I was like, I haven't done RDLs for a little while. Today is a day off, so I basically spent 2.5, 3 hours just messing around. Started off with the sumos. I worked up to 210. I didn't record the 210 one. You see it on the screen now, the 170 I think I did there. I don't know, when the weight gets heavy with sumos, I just go into a conventional movement pattern. You know, that's where my strength is. I just like to lean over a lot. So every time it gets heavy, I go away from that kind of verticality, that push with the legs, and I go into a pull. So I haven't really done a lot of sumo heavy weight. I've done a lot of 120 and 70 kilos, lots of reps, lots of practice. So today I thought I'll do that. After I did that, I thought, okay, let's go back to the RDL idea and really go heavy with that. So I worked up to 220 kilos with the RDL. I started off with the squat rack, in the squat rack. Walked it out. I did 2 reps, and then I backed off with 200 for a set of 3. I'll show you one set here. What an exercise, man. What an exercise. Man, everything that's involved in the posterior chain, everything that's involved in protecting you for you to squat better is involved in this exercise. You know, the RDL, the Romanian deadlift, you know, they say it's a hamstring exercise. I don't know how you could say it's a hamstring exercise. It's a freaking everything exercise. Like right now, I'm sitting here, I'm talking to you guys, and I have sensations through here that I'm going to be sore tomorrow in the traps. I have sensations in the hamstrings that I'm going to be sore. You know, I'm somebody that's done quite a lot of, you know, I've paid a lot of attention to hamstrings in recent times with the curls, just on the hamstring leg curl machine that I've got here, the bench. But when you do RDLs, it's a different beast. It's a different beast. So it started making me think about the pin squats again. I haven't done pin squats in a little bit. I've talked about this. Pin squats have kind of close to my heart, kind of like 45-degree hypers, but they can't coexist with deadlifting every day. It seems like it's too much. It just wrecks me too much. But with these RDLs, I decided, okay, I know historically I'm really strong at the top end of the deadlift motion. So I thought, maybe I can use super maximal weights with the RDL. So I started it off, I got to 220, it was way too heavy to stabilize. But I think it's a lot more. Is it a lot more that I could do with normal conventional deadlift off the floor? I'm not sure. But it was a great feeling. It was a great feeling. And so I keep coming back to the same line of thinking of this posterior chain business. It feels a lot better than without doing posterior chain. I've kind of been on that path for quite some time now. You know, I've done, like I've said, I've done a lot of leg curls. I've done a lot of different posterior chain isolation exercises to kind of avoid that spinal loading, to avoid that, you know, expensive recovery points kind of exercises. But looking back at it, I've never really, you know, I'll look back at the log, I never really went hammer and tongs on RDLs. It was always kind of like a little warm up before the squats. And the squats were kind of always ahead of everything. I'm tempted. You know, sumos, like I said, I feel like they're going to be the starting exercise for a long time now. I can't load it because I go away from that optimal positioning. So I'm going to use really light weight with the sumos. And I can start off with that every single session. But then to load up something heavy in an RDL type of movement, this could be a really beneficial period of time where I can go directly after the RDL while I'm not going hardcore after the back squats. Today I did back squat 160 for a set of 5. After all of those reps of RDLs, I felt fatigued, but 150 went up okay. I didn't work up to a single today at all in the squat. It was just what you're seeing here, a set of 5 on the back squat. And it felt good, man. I feel in my hips, I feel, you know, stability through the knees. There's just something about it, man. Like I've spoken about, you know, this connection between the glutes and the TFL and the ITB, the iliotibial band, that connection, and that when that region gets upset, and you know, I've said this before, the ITB is like the glue of the upper leg, man. You know, there's fibers from the quads, from the hamstrings. There's all sorts of fibers that fit into it from the internal hip rotators, the TFL. So it's kind of like the glue. It keeps the whole leg. And it's the longest tendon in the body. And so if there is a disruption of, you know, tug of war between all of these muscles, the ITB gets upset or gets pulled to one side more, and then you get the poor old guy, the TFL, suffering because there's some big dogs down here, hamstring, you know, the quad. You got the glutes that are all connecting into this ITB. And so if you have a hip pain, lateral hip pain, upper kind of quad hip pain, it could be related to the ITB. And the ITB is just a freaking inanimate object. It's just being pulled by other muscles. And so address posterior chain, address that pull to push ratio. And I keep coming back to this. And in the book, when I go back to that previous book, you know, the logbook that I did, I see signs of it everywhere. Every single time I've kind of plucked in moments of posterior chain, I've had good success. I've had good feelings, and you know, write how I feel on certain days. And I'm like, okay, freaking squats felt amazing. I feel really good, and it's usually associated with some sort of posterior chain, whether it be the GHD thing that I did at home, whether it be the good mornings. I never really did see the good mornings, but any sort of version of good mornings, straight deadlift, block pulls, snatch grip, RDLs, it just seems to be really good. So it seems to be a recurring thing for me. Maybe the posterior chain for me is much more important than for somebody that doesn't squat every day, because I do a lot of pushing just by the nature of the program that I'm dealing with. I do a lot of pushing through frequency, and so it's much more important for me, I think, to do a lot more focus on pulling just to freaking balance the thing out. So maybe I will move away from floor pulls and just work with RDLs for the moment, still do my sumos off the floor. I want to jump on this little period where I'm not pushing the squat as a primary, and when I'm doing a lot of posterior chain stuff as the primary. And so let's just give the RDLs a bit of a block here. So and the beautiful thing about the RDLs as well, which really makes me happy, is that I can do this in the morning. You know, it doesn't make a lot of noise. You know, if you guys haven't noticed, I don't really do a lot of heavy lifting off the floor in the mornings, just pure sound. Like if you drop 200 kilos, if you kind of lose the control of 200 kilos and you drop it, man, you're gonna hit that thing down 2 blocks because there's no background noise anywhere, man. Everything's still at 5 o'clock in the morning, and then you drop it. People are gonna think we're freaking under invasion from some country. So I don't want to do that. But RDLs are cool, man, because you can, you know, there's no contact with the floor, so, and you can get rep work through that. So I want to do that. Some of you actually asked me, a lot of people ask me, when are you going to throw in Olympic weightlifting, you know, movement, snatching and clean and jerk and all that stuff. And really, I'll never see myself doing that at home, purely because of the noise aspect. It's just freaking noisy, man. It's noisy in the gym when somebody does that, drops a freaking barbell from overhead. It's noisy. And to kind of slow it down eccentrically in such an explosive movement, that's asking for trouble, you know. I don't see too many people, you know, reversing the clean and jerk nicely. It's like, it's impossible. So Olympic weightlifting would only be possible if I was to go to a proper gym, a weightlifting gym. But, you know, that frequency can't be high, even if I start going, which defeats the whole purpose because it's all about technique with that sport. So when am I going to do that? I have no idea. Like I keep saying to you guys, man, you know, a lot of you guys have mentioned Discord as well. Why don't you start a Discord? Why don't you, you know, review your subscribers, you know, lifting videos and make videos like that? I just don't have the time. And between squat every day and uploading these videos and staying really active in the YouTube comments and Instagram DMs, that's me, man. That's all the time that I have. You know, I still work at the hospital. You know, I'm busy with that. You know, young family. You know, so a lot on my plate right now. I wish I could do Discord. I wish I could stay active on all these different platforms. It's just a matter of time. These videos do take a little bit of time to prepare. So, and it's all on me. Like I don't have an editor or anything like this. It's just me with my phone, and that's it. So it's all labor intensive. I wish I could do all of that, weightlifting and all of that stuff. You know, Discord, but there's just not enough time in the day. All right, guys, that's it for me. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Tomorrow I've also got a day off, so more experimentation. Tomorrow I'm probably going to do a bit more RDLs, with just a bit lighter. Today I pushed quite hard. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.